The breaking news just minutes ago, right here on MSNBC, is that Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book that contains a letter that bears Donald Trump's name is in the possession of the Epstein estate in Florida, and the estate lawyers would respond to a subpoena.
Congress could issue a subpoena to their attorneys at Patterson or at Troutman. Those are the two law firms. I know those attorneys. They would turn the book over immediately. Nobody would have to guess. There wouldn't need to be a lawsuit. There wouldn't have to wait to be discovery. You would immediately have the answers. You could flip to the page. Is there a letter? Is there not a letter? It's over.
Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California, member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman Khanna, you have been the driving force in the House of Representatives to get the Epstein files released to the House. Does it sound like it's time to maybe move for a subpoena to get that book?
Yes, Lawrence. First of all, that was a bombshell revelation by Bradley Edwards. I appreciate your having me on to hear that. It's important what he said, that we have to center the victims in this. And it's important to hear what he believes the victims want, which is the full, complete release of the Epstein files. We're hearing directly that's what the victims want. Second, it is a revelation to me that he said that that birthday book is with private lawyers in the Epstein estate. As you know and reported earlier, Summer Lee showed courageous leadership today on the Oversight Committee. We subpoenaed the Epstein files, but that's a hard thing to do, to get the Department of Justice to cooperate in releasing those files. What's not hard to do is to subpoena private attorneys in a private estate and to get compliance. So I'm actually going to invite Bradley Edwards to meet with the House Oversight Committee, and I think we can easily move forward on this subpoena of that birthday book, and which could really advance this case.
And this really does change the nature of the story. This is Donald Trump has said that the letter doesn't exist. He said it's non-existent. And so if this birthday book can be obtained, if you can obtain it, you can give us the answer of exactly how Donald Trump is or is not represented in that book.
Absolutely. We will know if the letter the Wall Street Journal reported on, if that is in the book or not, or if there are any other letters or correspondence of Donald Trump in the book. We also will know whether hundreds of other people who have been implicated in sex trafficking are in the book. And of course, we would take absolute care to make sure the victims are protected. But the biggest thing I heard tonight is that this is what the victims want. And this should not be a political issue. This should be an issue for justice. And I think it's really courageous that Bradley Edwards came on your program. I appreciate him doing that. And this guidance is very helpful for our committee, because we can't trust the Trump Justice Department. That is going to get slowed down. It's going to get bogged down. Even if we subpoena, they can try to defy the subpoena. I don't trust the DOJ to prosecute themselves for contempt of Congress. But what we can do through Congress is go after these Jeffrey Epstein estate. And we've seen even Republicans are willing to vote with us on that. This may be the cleanest way forward.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you very much for joining our breaking news coverage tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.